In some other world, there are 5 islands in the shape of a cross, called Isla. The central island, known as the Demon Realm, was ruled by Demon Lord Satan. Satan wanted to conquer the other islands so he can build a land of peace and prosperity for all demons. Together with his 4 generals, he launched attacks on the other 4 islands, killing everyone and destroying everything. The only ones who managed to rise against him were a hero and his band of comrades, who first defeated each one of Satan's generals and then Satan himself. Forced to escape, Satan, together with Alciel, his most loyal subordinate, escaped into Isla through a portal of dark energy called a gate, swearing he will get his revenge. Emerging from the gate, Satan and Alciel find themselves in a large city, turned into regular humans. Confused and unable to use their magic powers, the 2 get picked up by the police, who try to help them. At the police station, Satan reads the mind of a policeman to learn the Japanese language and find out they're on Earth, in the city of Tokyo. Even though Satan still has a little magic left, there is not enough magic in the atmosphere for them to retain their demon forms or use spells. Until they find a method to recover their magic, they have to live on Earth and obey the human rules. Satan making up the name Mao for himself, and Alciel the name Ashia. They manage to rent a place to stay in, but quickly realize they need money to survive. Some time passes and Mao and Ashia get completely used to living like humans. Finding a part-time job in a fast food restaurant called McDonald's, Mao spends his days working enthusiastically and doing his best. While he is earning money, Ashia spends his time doing housework and researching ways to get their magic back. One day, on his way to work, Mao sees a red-haired girl getting wet in the rain and gives her his umbrella, leaving in a hurry before she can say anything. As Mao was going back home, he meets the red-haired girl from before. Recognizing him as the former Demon Lord, she reveals herself to be the hero called Emilia, who defeated him on Isla. Flashing back to the day Mao escaped to Earth, we find out Emilia followed him through the portal, but lost her sacred power in the same way he lost his demon power. She tries to attack him with a cheap knife. A policeman quickly takes them both to a police station for causing a disturbance. Giving up for the day, Emilia, still bent on defeating Mao, tells him she knows his address and that he should watch his back from now on. Later in the day, Emilia goes to Mao and Ashia's place and threatens them until they let her in. She's frustrated with Mao for living a normal human life, even though he's a demon lord. Mao boasts about how he is going to conquer Japan by getting more and more wealth and influence, starting with working at McDonald's. Not believing him, Emilia says she's not going to kill him until she finds a way home, and telling him her Japanese name is Emmy, she leaves. Later, Emmy meets with Mao, trying to convince him to stay on Earth forever and make her job easier, but he tells her that he'll definitely come back to Isla. While talking, they suddenly get attacked by someone sniping them with magic bullets. They manage to get away unharmed, but Emmy loses her wallet and, unable to pay for a ride home, meekly asks Mao to stay the night at his house. Mao lets her stay overnight, giving her a futon and some money for her ride home in the morning. The following day, Mao's co-worker, a clumsy short high school girl called Chiho, asks him out for coffee. Since she is in love with him and admires his skills at work, she sees it as a date while he doesn't realize that. Meanwhile, Emmy, who works at a customer service center as a phone operator, gets contacted by the mysterious person who shot at them before. Claiming he knows everything about her and Mao, he says it's in Isla's best interests to wipe the Dark Lord Satan and Emilia the hero from the face of the world. As Mao meets with Chiho, Ashia follows them, and when Emmy runs into him, they end up watching Mao and Chiho on their date together. Chiho tells Mao her ears started ringing ever since she started working at McDonald's, and the night before she heard a disembodied voice warn her about a big earthquake coming soon. Mao recognizes this as someone trying to talk to her from another world, but he doesn't tell her. Continuing their conversation, Chiho almost confesses her love to Mao, but Emmy interrupts them, saying Mao is actually a cruel person. Not believing her, Chiho starts arguing with Emmy, when suddenly a huge earthquake happens, cutting the electricity and trapping them in the underground shopping mall. Putting Chiho to sleep with a spell, Emmy calls out to Mao to come out. When he comes out, she sees he has turned back into his demon form, gaining horns. Staying his kind self, he starts freeing people from the debris with his regained powers, while Emmy is confused as to why he is saving them instead of killing them. Outside of the collapsed underground shopping mall, Emmy remembers her childhood. She was forcefully drafted to the church army as a child because her mother was an angel. A few days after she had to leave her father behind, her village was destroyed and her father killed by the demons. Mao, having spent his demon power and returned back to his human form, concludes the earthquake wasn't natural, but rather an attack on him and Emmy specifically. The following day, visiting Mao, Emmy confronts him, confused and frustrated as to why Mao is helping people instead of acting like a demon lord. She asks him why he killed her father and many other people if he's capable of kindness. Mao admits he's never thought about it like that and apologizes, explaining he didn't understand people back then. As Emmy starts getting angry, Ashia, together with Chiho, come in and interrupt their conversation. Chiho, misunderstanding the two of them being lovers, runs away with tears in her eyes. Walking down the street and crying, Chiho bumps into a strange blue-haired boy with hair over one eye. Sprouting black wings, the boy declares he will feed on her envy and despair in order to surpass the demon lord. Seeing the boy fly and destroy buildings in the distance, Mao, together with Emmy and Ashia, head towards him. Reaching him, Mao realizes the boy is one of his former demon generals called Lucifer. Together with Lucifer, they see an archbishop of the church on Isla, named Orba, who confesses he was the one scheming against Mao and Emmy. Wanting to raise his status in the church, he wanted to get rid of Emmy and prevent her from returning to Isla, where she has been declared dead. He joined forces with Lucifer, promising to return him to heaven if they succeed. Their plans revealed, Lucifer flies into the sky and starts shooting magic bullets, hitting Ashia. Emmy and Mao, carrying the wounded Ashia, start running away. Mao explains Lucifer is so powerful in this world because demons feed off negative emotions like fear and hate. Lucifer catches up to them, asking Mao why he didn't gather more power in the same way as he did terrorizing people. But Mao tells him he doesn't want to cause trouble for a world that has treated him so well. Lucifer reveals he took Chiho as a hostage, and Orba catches up, shooting Mao with a gun. Caught between Lucifer and Orba, Mao uses the little power he has left to teleport Emmy, Ashia, and himself to a place filled with people. Lucifer and Orba catch up instantly, and Lucifer shoots a huge hole through Mao's chest. In order to power up, Lucifer destroys an overpass which threatens to kill the people under it. But suddenly Mao revives, casting a spell that stops the broken bridge in midair. The reason he has teleported to this location full of people is because so he could feed on their fear to regain his powers. While Mao is holding the broken bridge up, Emmy unleashes her sacred power, summoning her holy sword. As Lucifer and Emmy fight in the air, Mao casts a barrier that separates the humans from them. Ashia, who also gets his demon powers back, prevents Orba from joining the battle, throwing a truck at him. Mao manages to put the broken overpass down safely and flies into the air, punching the terrified Lucifer and beating him in one hit. After the fight, Mao, Emmy, and Ashia tell Chiho about their true identities, and Chiho accepts them since they're her friends and she trusts them. Nearby, a gate opens and Emmy's allies, a girl called Amarada and a Muslim called Albert, arrive. As they talk, it turns out the voice Chiho heard in her head before was Albert trying to warn someone on Earth about Lucifer arriving. At sunset, Amarada and Albert return to Isla, but Emmy decides to stay on Earth to keep an eye on Mao. Repairing the overpass and erasing all the humans' memories, Mao spends all his demon power, ruining his chance to get back to Isla. He decides his work at McDonald's is now more important to him than conquering the islands, so he continues his human life on Earth. As Lucifer starts living with Sato and Ashia, changing his name to Urashihara, Orba is arrested by the police. In exchange for food and a place to live, Urashihara spends his time gathering information about magic on the internet, quickly becoming an expert at using the computer. Some time later, a black-haired girl wearing a kimono and speaking in an old-fashioned way visits Mao. She introduces herself as Suzuno and tells them she has moved in next door to them. At her apartment, talking to Amarada on the phone, Emmy learns the church is investigating Orba's disappearance and that someone might be trying to find her on Earth. Amarada also sends her a package full of drinks that will restore her sacred power. Later that day, while stalking Mao's house, Emmy falls down the stairs accidentally and alerts the others who invite her in. She meets Suzuno, who says she is from a distant land where she lived in a traditional family, so she isn't accustomed to contemporary manner. That night leaving the store, Emi gets attacked by a man with a ski mask shooting magic bullets at her. She summons her sword and fights him, but the store clerk appears and chases him off. The following day, Emi and Suzuno arrange to go shopping together. While shopping, Suzuno casually reveals she's from Isla. Suzuno introduces herself as Crescia Bell, first interrogator of the Church Inquisition, who has come to Earth in order to find Orba and kill the Demon Lord. Suzuno asks Emi to join her against Mao, but Emi declines, saying that defeating the Demon Lord is her duty. Telling her to be careful and giving her a couple of fashion magazines, Emi leaves for work. Rejoining Chiho and Emi, Suzuno confronts them, saying Mao might just be acting nice in order to build trust and connections on Earth, since they never know when he might betray them. She thinks he needs to be killed as soon as possible. Chiho and Emi have complete trust in Mao and aren't swayed by Suzuno's words. Emi says her duty as a hero is to find a way for everyone to be happy, and Suzuno leaves angrily. Suddenly, the man in the ski mask who attacked Emi before appears. Emi summons her sword and clashes with him, but he shoots her with his eye beams. Growing wings, he reveals himself to be the person Suzuno talked to before, the Archangel Sariel. Suzuno appears, makes Chiho fall asleep with a spell, and takes her with her. Sariel also follows, carrying Emi. Back at McDonald's, Chiho's mom calls Mao, telling him she hasn't come back home. Yurishihara, who has put a tracker in Emi's purse before, concludes someone has taken Emi and possibly Chiho, somewhere in the direction of the city hall. He calls Mao to tell him, and Mao takes a bicycle and hurries to save the girls. Ending up in the hospital because of food poisoning, Ashia wakes up and goes out into the hall, but Orba, who was in the same hospital, appears behind him and punches him. Knocking him out and finding out the location of his apartment from his ID card, Orba heads there. On top of a tall building, Sariel sadistically tortures Emi with his eye beams, while Chiho watches helplessly. Sariel wants Emi's sacred sword, saying he has to return it to heaven, since it has no place being on Earth. Mao, hurrying on his bicycle, crashes into a barrier set up around the building, making Sariel notice him. Sariel orders Suzuno to kill Mao, and she jumps off the building. Mao manages to destroy the barrier before Suzuno lands in front of him. She summons a large hammer decorated with gold and attacks him. Mao dodges and tells her he knew she was from Isla, accusing her of being the same as Orba, not caring how many people she sacrifices as long as she gets power. Denying that, Suzuno hesitates to kill Mao, noticing he has barely any magic left. They stop and Suzuno warns Mao he can't beat Sariel without his powers. Mao says he doesn't care, telling Suzuno that deep down she actually wants him to beat Sariel. As he runs off, she realizes he might be right, thinking he isn't as bad as she thought. Back at the apartment, Yurishihara is visited by Orba. Casually talking, Orba asks Yurishihara to join him once again, and they leave together. As Mao arrives at the top of the building, he immediately gets overpowered by Sariel, who blows him away with magical bombs. On top of another building, Orba casts a spell that parts the clouds, revealing the moon and making Sariel, who is powered by the moon rays, even more powerful. The people outside notice something is wrong with the sky, and everyone starts panicking, creating lots of negative energy. Noticing this, Mao absorbs that energy, becoming more powerful than ever. Suzuno, having a change of heart, takes Chiho and Emi to safety, telling Sariel he imposes a false peace upon the people and causes chaos in this world instead. She says that Mao, even though he is a demon lord, is more righteous than he is. Yurishihara, getting his powers back, punches Orba, telling him Earth is a lot better than heaven, and making him cancel the moon amplifying spell. At that moment, Mao punches Sariel, and he crashes to the ground. Summoning his demonic blade, Mao finishes him off. As the battle ends, Mao notices the city is badly damaged, so he spends most of his demon power to repair it. Afterwards, spending his remaining power, he opens a gate to Isla and throws the beaten Sariel through it. Everyone returns to their regular lives. However, the following day, while Mao and Chiho are working as usual, Sariel appears inside a fridge at McDonald's because something went wrong with the gate magic. Going back home, while it is raining outside, Mao and Emmy meet by chance on the same crossing where they met for the first time. Since Mao had no umbrella with him, Emmy gives him a new umbrella to replace the one he gave her before. Hey, thank you for staying all the way till the end. If you enjoyed the video, give it a like. It takes only a second, but it means everything to us. Have a great day and see you in the next video.